I grew up in a part of the South where silence was supposed to keep you safe. Folks would say, don't poke the bear, don't question the badge. But that only works until the badge decides your land is worth more than your life. I learned that the hard way. My name isn't Zahara Ellis, like in the papers, it's Janelle Carter. Different name, same story. And this is how one deputy stunt on a bull turned my whole county upside down. It started at daybreak when the dew on my little farm smelled more like rust than water. Mrs. Hawkins from next door was already at the fence, sweater tight, eyes darting like sparrows. She whispered the kind of things elders whisper when they know history is about to repeat itself, trucks at midnight, neighbors disappearing land, changing hands without a handshake. I tried to sound calm. We're still here. That's something. But inside I felt it too, the air vibrating like before a storm. Then came the patrol car creeping slow, a snake on gravel. Deputy Troy Kessler, 6'4" of sunburn and arrogance, rolled his window down, but didn't wave. Just stared at my goats and my well like they belonged to him. Mrs. Hawkins muttered, "He's sick, child. Don't trust a smile that wide." She was right. That afternoon he showed up again, not with a warrant, but with a bull, a living, snorting slab of muscle named Brutus. I'd heard of cops bringing K9s. Never a bull. He swung off his cruiser chain and hand hat tilted low, a grin that said he'd rehearsed this scene in his head. "Morning, Miss Carter. Lovely day for a little persuasion," he drawled. I squared my shoulders. "I run a farm. Deputy, not a meth lab. You're trespassing." His grin sharpened. "Funny thing about trespassing. Depends who's writing the report." Then he mounted that bull like some twisted rodeo act, boots digging into hide spurs biting. "Brutus don't like goats," he said loud enough for the whole county to hear. "Maybe he don't like your kind either. Let's find out." He dug his heels and the bull roared forward. Dust rose. Time slowed. Pain hit my shoulder as I dove aside, gravel, biting skin. "Look at her bleed," one of the deputies hooted. Mrs. Hawkins screamed from the fence, "Leave her be, devil." He barked a laugh. "She's less than that. She's an example." But they forgot. I wasn't some soft target. Army taught me more than how to shoot, taught me how to think. I grabbed the hydrant at the edge of my porch, twisted the valve, and a white arc of pressurized water smashed across the bull's face. With my good hand, I yanked an ultrasonic whistle to my lips, the one I use overseas to scatter guard dogs, and blew hard. The sound knifed the air. Brutus froze, then exploded, bucking foam flying. "God damn it," Kessler howled, yanking reins, but it was too late. The bull launched him like a rag doll, sent him spinning into the dirt. The crowd at the fence gasped, then phones came up like sunflowers chasing light. I stood there bleeding, but tall hose still hissing. "You wanted a show, Kessler? There it is. Bring beasts to my door. Don't be surprised when they turn on you." For the first time, his grin was gone. He spat dirt eyes burning holes through me. "This ain't over," he rasped. But the cameras had already captured the moment, and the county had seen their lawmen face down in the mud. You'd think that would stop a man. It didn't. The complaint I filed disappeared from the system like it never existed. Anonymous notes warned me he'd done worse. One night, a kid named Nathan showed up at my door, hands shaking. Said he'd forged deeds for Kessler, run a pipe from an old factory straight into my well to poison the land slow and quiet. He showed me the pipe himself, slick, humming with sludge. "They want to drive you off without firing a shot," he whispered. My stomach turned. This wasn't just harassment. It was chemical warfare dressed up as county code. So I turned my farm into a fortress. Motion sensors, trip wires, high-pressure hoses rigged under the eaves, a paint sprayer loaded with industrial orange. If they came again, they'd meet a soldier, not a victim. And come again, they did torches and gas cans in the dark. Marcus and Billy Kessler's deputies laughing like hyenas. "Morning, Carter," he called out. "Fire inspection. Thought we'd help you prepare." He tilted the canned gasoline glugging onto dirt. "Sign what you're told or we'll burn you out like the rest." I stepped into their flashlight beam. Shoulder-wrapped eyes steady. You set one spark on this ground, and no uniform will save you. He smirked. Uniforms don't hide sins, sweetheart. They blessed them, but as he gave the order, his men tripped my snares, one flung backward by a swinging gate, the other yanked into the mud, screaming. Then I hit the switch and the hose roared, slamming Kessler full in the face, peeling his hat off, welted his cheek. Orange paint coated him head to boots. Neighbors came out to their porches. Mrs. Hawkins whispered, "Lord, I ain't seen justice like that in 60 years. For a second, I thought maybe we'd turn the tide. But Kessler just shifted tactics. A friendly doctor invited me in for an evaluation. Locked door, needles, deputies waiting. They tried to disappear me under paperwork, say I was unstable, a danger to myself. But a nurse named Brenda risked everything and slipped me coordinates in a smock, smuggled me through a service hatch at 3:00 a.m. I crawled out of a sewer pipe, gasping shoulder, screaming, but alive. When I limped home, my goats lay dead, bellies bloated from poison, new razor wire around my fields. They'd killed my animals just for spite. That night, kneeling in the mud with Mrs. Hawkins praying behind me, something broke, but something else hardened. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about every family they'd erased. Wyatt, an old friend from my unit, showed up with tech gear and calm eyes. "We fight back with evidence," he said. Nathan helped. Even Marcus flipped, giving us the key to the evidence locker. We broke into that station during a thunderstorm, copied every file, every body cam video, every doctored deed. We heard the councilman's voice on the off-books radio channel ordering Kessler to move her by paper. Not fire paper leaves fewer scars. We sent everything to a civil rights attorney named April Green, and she went public. Press conference, flashing cameras, audio of Kessler snarling, "Burn her out, blame the storm." Internal affairs swept in at dawn, cuffed Billy, suspended Smith, served warrants on Kessler and his political backer. For once, the badge didn't mean untouchable. I'll never forget the morning the feds rolled up to my fence line. Blue windbreakers, court orders, real protection. Neighbors came out in their Sunday clothes, even though it was Tuesday, standing shoulder to shoulder. Mrs. Hawkins whispered, "This land remembers, child." When they dragged Kessler past my porch, he hissed, "This ain't over. This land'll never be yours." And Mrs. Hawkins, 90 pounds of bone and fire, called back, "Oh, but it already is." They marched Smith out, neck slippers on his feet, face gray. Then the senator who'd bankrolled it all, tie askew, looking for sympathy and finding none. Children pointed. Old men stood taller. It felt like the county itself was exhaling after holding its breath for a century. You'd think that was the end court date, set headlines blazing, a little farm woman beating the machine. But systems don't crumble overnight. Even now, rumors swirl about replacements, about other counties where the same paperwork wins war strategy is still running. Some folks online say I went too far, turned my farm into a booby trap, escalated. Others call me a hero. Truth is, I'm just someone who refused to leave quietly. When I tell it now, my hands still shake, not from fear, but from the weight of it. I remember the bull's horns inches from my ribs, the hose biting my palms, the taste of sludge in my well. I remember Wyatt's steady voice, Nathan's shame, Brenda's risk, Mrs. Hawkins' prayer. I remember how the county looked at me like I was crazy until they saw the tapes, until they saw the paint on Kessler's face, the poison in our water, the bodies hidden under legal forms. And then they couldn't unsee it. If you're watching this, you might think it's just a wild story, a crooked cop on a bull, a farmer fighting back. But it's also about power and how it hides in plain sight, about the paperwork behind every injustice and the courage it takes to push back with more than rage, to push back with proof. My hope is you see yourself somewhere in this fight, maybe in the neighbor who filmed the nurse, who smuggled the deputy who finally flipped. Or maybe in the woman standing her ground with nothing but a whistle, a hose, and her name. I'll keep telling it because silence is what they count on. Silence is their cover. Light is ours. So tell me in the comments, have you seen power like this in your town? Have you ever been pressured to stay quiet about something wrong? Do you believe a single person can turn the tide, or does it take a whole community? Right or wrong, you decide. All I know is they wrote a bull at me to break my spirit, and all they did was show me how strong it already was.